So yesterday you completed your lab, collected your data, shared your data with your partners, and then created a copy. Remember, we want to create that copy including the person that owns the data, because we all want to be working off of a different copy. If we just share our data and everybody works off of that shared copy, then that means one person does work for everybody else, and that's not what we want to do. You can help each other out. Somebody can ask you a question, you can show them how to do it. That's great. But the person, everybody still needs to do their own work. So we create a copy. Once we create a copy, we go into that copy to do our thing. My copy is called lab1exportedData.csv. So I'm going to click on that. And sometimes if I click on that, it'll open up directly into Google Sheets. Sometimes it'll just look like this, where it has a little tab at the top that says Open With. If it says Open With, you want to click on that and click Google Sheets. If that's not an option for you, then what you've done, almost certainly, is deleted the .csv suffix at the end. Remember I told you yesterday when you're making a copy, if you're renaming it, you need to keep it called something .csv. If it's not a CSV file, you can't open it in Google Sheets. So if you're in that situation, you're going to need to go back to the original shared version, and then you're going to need to make a copy of it and rename it again. Does that make sense, you guys? So now when I look at this data, man, I got all kinds of crazy data that I really don't want most of this stuff, right? Remember we wanted time and position for one trial. Now, Luke, this was your data. You shared this with me. Do you remember which trial, Luke, was the best trial?
Number one was the first trial.
Your first one was your best one? Okay. So I want to delete all the data except for time and position for the first trial. So if I've got 14 trials, I want to delete all the data for 13 of them, and all the data except time and position, even for the other one, for the 14th one. So let's see here. This is, column B is the time for trial 1. You can see that. So let's delete all of this time and date thing. I don't want that. Delete this time and date thing by clicking on column A. Notice what I did there, guys. I didn't click on data. I didn't highlight data like this. I clicked on the letter A. That highlights the entire column. And then you're going to right-click. Is that too small for you guys to see? Better? Okay. We'll try this again now that you guys can see that. I want to delete the time and date stamp. So I'm going to click on column A. Look, guys, I'm not clicking on the word date and time. I'm not doing that. I'm clicking on the letter A. That highlights the entire column. Now I'm going to right-click that. Or for you guys, it's not right-click. For you guys, it's going to be two-finger touch on the Chromebooks, right? Two-finger touch, right-click, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to delete the column. Not only does that delete the data in that column, it deletes the entire column. You guys see what I'm doing there? Now, I don't want all this other stuff either. I don't want force and acceleration or whatever. I want time, which I have now as my first column. That's good. I want it as my first column. And I want position for run 1. I want column G there. I don't want to delete that one, but I want to delete columns B through F. So I'm gonna click on column B. I don't want to click on the word force. I want to click on the column B and then drag it over so that I've got B, C, D, E, and F highlighted. And then I'm going to right-click, or for you guys it would be two-finger touch, delete columns B through F. Now you can see that my first two columns, A and B, are time and position. Now I want to delete the rest of them as well. So let's highlight C through H. Right-click. Let's delete those columns. And look at that. Now I've got just two columns, time and position. That's good. There is some data that I'm going to need to delete here as well, but at least I'm getting there. Okay, at least I've got the right columns, not all these extra columns that are irrelevant to me. Once you get to this point, what you want to do is highlight all of your data. And some of you are thinking like, I got all those zeros there. I don't want that data. Trust me, just highlight it all right now. Plot everything right now. And then we'll go back and delete what we don't want after we see our graph. So let me highlight, not my columns this time. Let's just highlight my data, all of my data, including the words time and position. Highlight all of your data. Keeps going and going. There we go. Highlight all of the data. There we go. I've got all of my data highlighted here now. Now I'm going to insert a chart. Insert a chart. And when I insert a chart, most likely the chart that comes up will be a scatter plot. It says it right over here, a scatter chart. If it happens to be a different type of graph that pops up, occasionally it just automatically does a different one, a line graph or something. I want you to change it and select a scatter chart. Now, you can see that I got some data right here that's irrelevant to me, and some data right here that's irrelevant to me as well. I want to delete that stuff. You can clearly see that this data was taken before the cart started moving. So let's get rid of that. This data was taken after the cart started moving. So let's get rid of that. What data do I want to delete? Well, let's look here. Now, let's try, I don't know, let's try deleting rows 2 through, looks like these are kind of crazy, 2 through 20. So let's highlight those rows. Click on number 2, drag down to 20. You're not deleting the data, you're not just highlighting the cells, you're highlighting the rows. Right click, delete those rows. Oh, there you go. That looks better. Let's see what the graph looks like. It still kind of looks a little bit wacky there at the beginning. See that, guys? It's kind of curving upwards a little bit. Let's delete a few more points. Right click, delete those. Let's see what it looks like. That's better. Look at that, you guys. Now I got some data points at the end that I need to delete. Looks like, I don't know, looks like about 2.8 seconds. From about 2.8 seconds on that I want to delete there. So let's go over to my table and delete from about 2.8 seconds on. Highlight those rows, the row numbers. Right click, delete those rows. Oh, look at that. That looks way better. That's nice looking now, eh? That's a good looking graph. It even has the title of the graph on there for me, position versus time, and it has the axes labeled position and time. Now we need a trend line. I have to draw a line of best fit there. My line of best fit should be a straight line. This looks pretty much like a straight line, right? So here's what we do for that, guys. Let's go click on the graph, right? If it's not highlighted, just click on it to highlight it. And then click on those 3 buttons in the top right-hand corner of the graph and go Edit Chart. And you should see a menu pop up on the right-hand side. You're going to customize series, and then scroll down, and where it says trend line, check that box, trend line. Bam, all of a sudden the trend line was in. I can barely see that trend line though. Probably because it's the same color as my data points. It might be a good idea to change the color of the line to red so I can see it better. Maybe I even increase the opacity of it to make it brighter. You can do whatever you want with that. It doesn't have to be red. As long as I can see the trend line, you're going to get marks for that. If you're like, I can't really see that, then maybe you want to change the color, that maybe a little brighter, maybe make it a little thicker. That looks really good. But now, guys, this is the last thing. Now, I want to display an equation. I need the slope of this graph. The slope of this graph is going to be from the equation. To get the equation, I want to label, look down here, guys. My trend line I checked off. It's a linear trend line, type is linear. And then if I go down, it says label none. I don't want no label. And I click on that. Don't ever choose custom. I'm going to choose use equation. Always. Every graph we ever do in physics 20 or physics 30, click use equation. Now it's going to, don't click this show R squared value. That does have some meaning, but we're not going to worry about that. You can see an equation popped up there now. It says 1.2x minus 1.25. 1.2x minus 1.25. That's an equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. Y equals 1.2x plus negative 1.25. The slope of the graph is m. The slope of this graph is 1.2. So Luke and Luke's partners, your conclusion would be the velocity of this low friction car is 1.2 meters per second. And then you would say this is known because the slope of the graph, the position time graph, is 1.2 meters per second. We don't have to calculate the slope. Google Sheets does a great job of doing it for me, as long as you follow all those steps that I just showed you.